Hello, Father Rich, back with you in our next session of our How the Church Changed the World. We're just reaching the midway point now. But I'm here in the corner of my bedroom up on the second floor of the Our Lady of Peace Rectory before an area kind of dedicated to my family. There's actually an olive wood cross from the Holy Land there in the middle. But pictures of the family together and then different siblings at weddings and nieces and nephews and all that good stuff, mom and dad. Um, and I remember a significant moment in my when I had a chance to be studying in the seminary, had a chance to make a pilgrimage to Poland, and this was significant to me because we talk about family. That half my blood in my family comes from Poland. My mom was 100% Polish, and so I remember hearing the stories over the years, and especially as I was getting more serious in my faith and getting older, that my mom would talk about our great grandparents, my great grandparents, her grandparents, who came over from Poland, and talked about how they would speak about going on these in the month of May, the month dedicated to Mary, that they would walk from around Warsaw up in kind of the northern central part of Poland all the way down to a place called Czestochowa. And they would go there to say prayers and to rededicate themselves and their country to Mary. And it was before this image, Our Lady of Czestochowa, sometimes called the Black Madonna or the Queen of Poland, that they would pray. It is the most significant Marian devotion in Poland. And I was always inspired by that. So when I had a chance to go back to that same location and kneel in front of that original image of Our Lady of Czestochowa and pray, I was so moved by the connection with my family that my ancestors had prayed in this same spot and that their faith had been fed. That made such an impact on me that I decided to make this image my holy card for my ordination. And I had my first mass as a deacon. I was ordained a deacon in Rome, but my first mass with my family in the crypt of St. Peter's Basilica, not far from his tomb, in the Polish chapel. And this was the image behind the altar. And they had also the images of different Polish saints over the years that were part of that heritage. And there was rumors that around that time that when John Paul II died, that he might be buried there. He's now located on the main floor of the church. But so all these connections coming into play, really this essay really hit home for me. It's called The Miracle of Jasna, Gora, which is the name of the monastery on the complex where this image of Our Lady of Czestochowa is held. Jasna Gora, that translates to bright hill. And then to bring this kind of full circle with the pilgrimages, had a chance in 2016 to go there for a World Youth Day with my sister, my brother-in-law, my college roommate, and some of his family, and then 3 of my nephews. And what a blessing to share that with them. Our first night in Poland, we went right to Jasna Gora, Our Lady of Czestochowa, and had a chance to pray and have mass there. But it tells the story of the Polish faith going to that location, and 3 different figures who played a significant role in helping the people of Poland, even as their country disappeared, and they would be under the mercy of their aggressive neighbors, the Germans and the Russians, that they remained faithful and didn't give up on their hope, not just of having a country, but staying faithful to their Catholic faith and their Catholic origins. And so those 3 individuals, the one they start this with is the one I mentioned already, St. John Paul II. They start with him being in discussions with the Soviet general who had come and to meet with John Paul II when he visited one of his first visits in the late 70s as Pope to Poland. And he went to Jasna Gora and Our Lady of Czestochowa. And the Soviets didn't know what to do with them. And they talk about how he kind of boldly confronted them and continued to encourage the people to be faithful. And we know eventually St. John Paul II would have a huge role in bringing down the Iron Curtain. Not in any, a military attack, but in spiritual warfare and his giving the people faith and hope and that prevailing. We jump back. Another person they mention is Lech Walesa, who was the lay leader of the Solidarity movement in Poland in the 80s. and a significant person. And so he got the Nobel Peace Prize. And when he received it, they talk about him quoting another Pole back in the early 1900s, whose name was Heinrich Stenkiewicz. He would write a great trilogy, The Fire and the Sword, about a siege of Jasna, Gora, back in the 1600s, when the Muslim Turks and Swedes were trying to lay siege to the monastery. And they would hold out with 300 monks, really not well versed in battle, but they would hold out and pray and continue not to let the Swedes take over, and to what some people said was foolish. And they ended up repelling the siege. The Swedes, John Cosmer, would end up helping lead this the repelling of the Swedes, and they would and he would declare at that point in the 1600s Our Lady of Czestochowa as the Queen of Poland, recognizing kind of her role in interceding for the people of Poland. And so this Heinrich Stenkiewicz would also be, he was writing his books at a time when the country of Poland technically didn't exist. Lech Walesa, when he received the Nobel Peace Prize, was speaking about a Poland that really didn't exist because it was under the Iron Curtain. It certainly wasn't free. And then back in the day of Jasna Gora, the country of Poland really didn't exist either. But all through all this history, and in that stretch, it was for 100 years, back when Stenkiewicz received the Nobel Peace Prize, because in the 1800s into the 1900s, Poland had ceased to exist. So in the midst of all of that, they remained faithful, and now we know, that Soviet Union did not win out. The article ends with reminding us that the Soviet Union is dead and Poland lives. At one point, when they were trying to sack Jasna Gora, and they couldn't, and many of the soldiers talked about seeing this young maiden, this woman that would be around the different ramparts of the monastery and would be guiding kind of the efforts of the monks. They would talk about, who is that witch that runs around that place? Similar to what Saint Joan of Arc was referred to at times by the English, as she kind of had this miraculous ability to lead the French in the 1400s to defeat the English. So they mentioned in the essay here, one of the sections is called One Greater Than Joan of Arc. And that's Our Lady of Czestochowa. We know the impact that Poland and the faith of the people of Poland has continued to have in our world, and certainly Europe, as Europe struggles to have faith, but yet the church in Poland remains pretty strong and really remarkable, even though they're the ones that have been oppressed the most and have had the least worldly success. I think there's a spiritual lesson to be learned there. So we thank God for the faith of the Polish people, their perseverance and faith, and the intercession of Our Lady of Czestochowa, the Black Madonna, and for that continued inspiration that the Polish people have given to those of us who are Polish Americans here in our country, and certainly other countries having some of that same pride in their faith and in their history with the church. So thanks for joining me today. Have a great day, and God bless.